viewers, welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. Bangladeshis demand global recognition of 1971 genocide. Terrorists using fabricated tactics to spread violence in Jammu and Kashmir. And Baloch resistance against Pak's atrocities continues. The act of mass killings in Bangladesh in 1971 was one of the worst holocausts in the 20th century. This genocide was meant to destroy the Bengali identity by murdering elites, destroying religious diversities, and raping women. Recently, the human rights activists and political leaders in Geneva urged the United Nations to globally recognize the 1971 genocide. They also demanded that the Pakistan government should offer apology to Bangladesh for the genocide perpetrated by its army. Take a look.
Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the leader of East Pakistan, declared the region an independent republic, which he said will be called Bangladesh, the land of the Bengalis.
The proclamation of independence by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on 27 March 1971 was a moment in history that paved the way for the liberation of Bangladesh. Today, the celebrations of Independence Day of Bangladesh remind each one of the Bangladeshis that they have lost so many dear ones to get this freedom. The liberation war in erstwhile East Pakistan was marked by the horrific genocide committed by the Pakistani army and its paramilitary force, the Razakars. The region witnessed almost a full collapse of humanity during the 9 months of March to December in 1971. Around 10 million people were forced to cross border and relocate to India. In a bid to acknowledge the suffering and honor of the victims of the genocide underwent during the war, the Bangladeshi diaspora and ruling political party in Geneva recently demanded international recognition of the genocide and an apology from Pakistan.
Today we are here for the genocide of Bangladesh in 1971 against Pakistan brutal army, what they have done. We are here to recognize the genocide in Bangladesh from the international organization in front of the United Nations office in Geneva. So we protest their brutality in 1971 to the unarmed people, and we demand the excuse from the Pakistan government what they have done, what their army have done in 1971 in Bangladesh.
Bangabandhu, Jai Bangabandhu, Jai Bangla, Jai Bangla, Jai Bangabandhu, Jai Bangabandhu.
It is a matter of shame that the genocide committed by Pakistan in Bangladesh 50 years ago, which was aimed at changing the ethnicity of a group, is yet to be globally recognized. According to Bangladesh Genocide Archives, 3 million people were killed, 500,000 girls and women were raped, and entire villages were laid to waste. The abduction and subsequent rape of women by soldiers took place in camps for months. Many more were subject to hit-and-run rapes. Hit-and-run rape explains the brutality of forcing male family member before their own death view the rape of their female family member by soldiers. Though atrocities and brutality started well before March 1971, continuation of this barbarism reached its peak on the night of March 25, 1971. The Operation Searchlight, initiated by Pak Army on March 25, resulted in the death of between 5,000 and 1 lakh Bengalis in a single night. Forces of the Pakistani army targeted academics, specifically murdering many Hindu university students and professors. The goal of the operation was to crush the Bengali nationalist movement through fear.
Pakistani army has Operation Searchlight in all of the Bangladesh community, Bangladesh peoples, University of Dhaka students, in Rajarbaগ police line, all of the Dhaka and other city. They have Operation Searchlight, genocide in all of the Bangladesh, and this is the very dark night of the Bangladesh history and all of the international history. So our Bangladeshi peoples in Switzerland, we are demanding in international community should be recognized the International Genocide Day, 25th of March in Bangladesh. So we are appeal to the international community and international organization of United Nations. Pakistan should be apology to the Bangladesh.
The year 1971 was the darkest period for Bangladeshi Hindus. The members of Hindu community were robbed of their lands and shops, systematically slaughtered, and in some places painted with yellow patches marked H. All of this had been officially sanctioned, ordered, and implemented under martial law from Islamabad. Documented incidents in which Hindus were massacred in large numbers include the Jathibhanga massacre, the Chuknagar massacre, and the Shankharipara massacre.
There was the Hindus in Shakari Bazaar, in old Dhaka. They were burned down, the old were burned. The one who thought that they were fortunate to run away, they were machine gun. And they saved bullet by killing the children, by using bayonet. So that was very, 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 those atrocities must be compensated. At least we need a recognition for Bangladesh, that genocide in 1971.
There should be no doubt that the Pakistani army and its collaborators were guilty of genocide and war crimes. Apart from denial, the defense of Pakistan has been that its army was acting under the orders of the legitimate government in aid of civil authority to control an insurrection. However, it is well established that even in such situations, Geneva Conventions and other international humanitarian laws and laws on human rights are applicable. It is a shame that barring some civilian collaborators who have been belatedly brought to justice in Bangladesh, the officers and soldiers of the Pakistani army who perpetrated the heinous crime have remained unpunished despite being identified.
Let's shift our focus to India's Jammu and Kashmir, where Pakistan-backed terrorists are using tactics of fake identity to mislead the security agencies and spread violence. Recently, security forces in Jammu and Kashmir eliminated two dreaded terrorists of Lashkar-e-Taiba outfit. One of the terrorists was carrying a fake press identity card to delude the security forces. We have a report. Security forces eliminated two Lashkar terrorists in Renawari area of Srinagar in an overnight encounter. One of the two terrorists, identified as Rais Ahmed Bhatt, was carrying a fake press card showing his identity as the editor-in-chief of Valley-based online news portal. According to the police, he was a dreaded terrorist and there was 2 FIR against him in Anantnag police station for committing terror crimes. Another terrorist killed in the encounter has been identified as Hilal Ahmed Rehm, a resident of Bijibihara.
कल इवनिंग में श्रीनगर पुलिस को इत्तला मिली थी कि डाउनटाउन के जो रेनावाड़ी एरिया है वहाँ 2 टेररिस्ट छिपे हुए, तो पुलिस सीआरपी मिलकर कॉर्डन डाला। कॉर्डन डालते ही जब साइड शुरू किए सर्च हम लोग, अंदर से फायरिंग आ गया, उसका कार्रवाई किया गया इधर से। उस इनकाउंटर में 2 टेररिस्ट मारे गए। दोनों लश्कर तोबा का लोकल टेररिस्ट है, अनंतनाग डिस्ट्रिक्ट से। जैसा हम सब जानते हैं कि जो उसमें जो एक रईस भट्ट है, जो पहले जर्नलिस्ट भी था, बहुत सारे किलिंग में अनंतनाग डिस्ट्रिक्ट और बिजबरा एरिया में इन्वॉल्व था। श्रीनगर भी आया था जो सॉफ्ट टारगेट को हिट करने के लिए, तो हम लोग को टाइमली खबर मिल गया, हम लोग रिटेलिएट किए, तो उसमें ये दोनों मारा गया।
This is not the first instance of terrorists using the cover of journalists to carry out well-planned terror attacks in the valley. Earlier in February, Fahad Shah, editor of the prominent Srinagar-based news portal, was detained by Srinagar police for anti-national activities and sharing provocative content on social media. On August 10 last year, a journalist-cum-terrorist Adil Farooq, working for local news agency, was arrested by Srinagar police when he was allegedly moving around with 2 hand grenades. Pakistan's spy agency, the ISI, specifically picks journalists or any other influencing youth in the Kashmir Valley who can easily get access to government buildings and high-security areas. It helps them to carry out terror-related activities without any hindrance.
Number of terrorists that are getting recruited every year is decreasing every year. In fact, this year or the year which is passed by 2021, I think 50 to 60 new terrorists have been recruited from the Kashmir Valley. And today, as far as terrorism is concerned, it is restricted only to Kashmir Valley, and that to South Kashmir of Kashmir Valley. So educated and odd educated youth going away, that is happening. But the reason for that is radicalization which is taking place online, that is on social media and on the internet. So what we need to do is to ensure that this radicalization which takes place online and on social media must be blocked, must be stopped, and the ones who are doing it should be punished under the various sections of the law.
The Kashmir Valley has witnessed a sharp decline in terror-related activities as alert security forces with their intelligence inputs eliminates them before any misadventure. However, the enemy uses new tactics to harm peace in Jammu and Kashmir and tries its best to mislead the Kashmiri youth. The day 27 March reminds Baloch people of losing their freedom and makes them realize about their national obligations which they need to fulfill to regain their freedom. Balochistan lost its independence on this day in 1948 after its forcibly annexation by Pakistan. Since then, enforced disappearances, targeting students, activists, journalists and human rights defenders continue relentlessly in the province. Recently, while observing 27 March as a Black Day, Baloch National Movement organized an anti-Pak protest in Germany. A report.
On March 27, 1948, Pakistan forcibly annexed the sovereign state of Balochistan. Since then, the Baloch have been observing March 27 as a Black Day in their history. Recently, the Baloch National Movement organized a protest in Germany to make the international community aware of Pakistani atrocities in Balochistan. Holding banners and placards, the protesters raised the flag of Balochistan. Several speakers addressed the demonstration in various languages. While raising the issue of Pak's atrocities and extrajudicial killings in Balochistan, protesters also expressed concern over the rights of fishermen in the poor province. Local fishers are fearful as China is expanding Gwadr's fishing industry. Fishers in the region already face destitution due to dwindling catch.
China wants to fish with bigger fish nets and want to kill all of the marine life in Balochistan. They don't only stop fishes, but they also stop all the people to do fishing. And also they are being oppressed because of their big ship breaking industry in Pakistan. In Gaddani, there is the biggest ship industry in the world as third most ship breaking yard, it's called. Recently, Pakistan has not only accepted oil or fossils shipping, but also they have accepted so many atomic substances shipping. They break down these shipping in the Balochistan area.
The 7 decades of slavery have seen the blood of thousands of Baloch people. Thousands of Baloch innocent civilians have been disappeared at the hands of Pakistani security forces. The cases of extrajudicial killings have got non-stop in the province. Though Balochistan is the biggest victim of Pakistan's army kill and dump policy, the story is similar for Sindh also. Every day, newspapers and TV channels are filled with deceased bodies assassinated by unknown persons, police personnel, and law enforcement agencies. Minorities are at risk due to forced conversions in the region. Therefore, the issue of extrajudicial killings in Sindh was also raised in demonstrations.
forced conversion in Sindh to the minority people of the Hindu girls to the Islam, and extrajudicial killing about the Sindhi people and Baloch people. We want to appeal to the UNO and EU that stop these extrajudicial killing in Balochistan.
Thousands of Balochs have been killed since 1948, and there have been ups and downs in the liberation struggle. But the Baloch resistance to regain their independence continued.
Moving on, the Taliban had promised a softer version of the harsh Islamist rule that characterized their first stint in power from 1996 to 2001. But many restrictions have still crept back. Women have been squeezed out of many government jobs, barred from traveling alone, and ordered to dress according to the strict interpretation of Islamist law. And now recently, the Taliban shut the secondary schools for girls hours after the school reopened, compelling the female students to demonstrate their anger. Dozens of female students and teachers chanted slogans, "Education is our right. Open the doors for girls." On March 26th, Afghan students and teachers marched in front of the Education Ministry in the capital Kabul. Just 2 days before the protest, the Taliban backtracked on their previous commitment to open high schools for girls, saying that they would remain closed until a comprehensive and Islamic plan was drawn up for them to reopen.
جامعه جهانی سازمان‌های حقوق بشری صدای ما بشنوین، ننگتان باد، ننگ از سکوت ننگینتان را بشکنانین، وجدانایتان را بیدار بکنین. شرم است بر شما که در دنیای امروزی که شما هر روز دارین و تکنولوژی و اختراعات بزرگ دست پیدا میکنین، اینجا یک نسل حقی در درس خواندن و رفتن به مکاتب را ندارد.
The U-turn shocked many, leaving students in tears and sparking protests by girls in Kabul. One student in the crowd, Fatima, expressed her sadness at the Taliban's decision.
مکاتب ما مسدود شد. همه قسم که پسرها حق تحصیل دارن، ما دخترها هم داریم. از اسلام هم روبروی پیامبر هم میگه به ما یک حق داده، اما طالبان یک از ما گرفته حق تحصیل حق.
Allowing girls of all ages to attend schools has been one of the most crucial demands set by the international community after the Taliban came to power. Teachers and students held banners writing for what crime we are not allowed to continue our education.
طالب از زن باسواد میترسه. طالب از این میترسه که اگر زن باسواد شد یک خانواده باسواد میشه. اگر یک خانواده باسواد شد یک اجتماع باسواد میشه. وقتی یک اجتماع باسواد شد هرگز انگیزه تروریستی به خودش پرورش نمیده.
Allowing girls of all ages to attend schools has been one of the most crucial demands set by the international community after the Taliban came to power. Hence, Taliban's last-minute decision to shut school for girls had been widely condemned. After their decision, the United States abruptly cancelled meetings with the Taliban in Doha that were set to address key economic issues. The cancellation of talks was the first concrete sign that recent Taliban moves on human rights and inclusivity could directly impact the international community's willingness to help the group, some of whose leaders are under US sanctions. The activist and Nobel laureate Malala Yousafzai said during the Doha forum that the Taliban should not get diplomatic recognition if they do not recognize the human rights of women and girls.
So initially we had planned to bring some of the Taliban officials to the stage, and we were hoping that the conversations would be very different. But as soon as we heard that girls can't go to school, I don't think that we should be in a position to give them the opportunity. It should be a non-negotiable condition for any diplomatic recognition of the Taliban. I believe in peace talks. I believe in dialogue. But I also feel that at the same time, that they should not be recognized if they do not recognize the human rights of women and girls. As a religious scholar mentioned, that there is no verse that says girls can't go to school, but there are verses in Quran and there are verses in Hadith that tell us that seeking education is a responsibility, it is your duty. So I would just say one thing to the Taliban, talabul ilmi farizatun ala kulli Muslim. Seeking education is a duty of every Muslim.
Taliban have yet again failed to give basic rights to the women in Afghanistan. There is a major disconnect between what they earlier said and what they are doing on the ground. The last time when Taliban ruled Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001, they banned female education and most employment. In a 2002 ILSA Journal of International and Comparative Law report titled The Invisible Woman, the Taliban's Operation of Women in Afghanistan, the International Association of Law Students stated, most educational opportunities offered to women and girls abruptly ended when the Taliban took control of Kabul in 1996. Girls seeking education were forced to attend underground schools. And now again, 7 months after the Taliban regained power in Afghanistan, Afghan women's long-held worries have become a terrible daily reality. The all-male interim government is creating barriers to women and girls pursuing higher education. The de facto rulers have banned co-education, terming it as the root of all evils in society. The crisis for women and girls in Afghanistan is escalating with no end in sight. Taliban policies have rapidly turned many women and girls into virtual prisoners in their own homes, depriving the country of one of its most precious resources. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on the behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.